in studio today with, as always, Josh, Ryan. And today we'll be talking a little bit about, we're starting it off at least with hockey, where the Lloydminster Bobcats had a bit of an up and down weekend, finding some goods and some bads here.
That feels like their entire month of December at this point. The team had obviously a rough start to the season, and they've slowly managed to find some bright spots, thanks in part to that goaltender trade they made. Josh Diaz has been excellent for them. But again, up and down this weekend, as you say, winning 3-1 against Whitecourt, which is a solid team win for them. A not great result following that 6-1 to the Grand Prairie Storm. That is, again, as you said, has been basically their entire month, where they've had some good results, but as soon as they have a good result and they're against a tougher opponent, then they have a drop-off. So that, breaks a losing streak, obviously, with the 3-1 win. They got an okay result against the Pontiacs, unfortunately losing 6-4 at home. They got to have better responses, though. Once you get one win, you can't turn around and drop a game by that many goals. A couple other bright spots, though, obviously. Javen Leslie scoring his first goal as a Bobcat, so a homegrown talent. That's good to see. And then Shea Dugan, a call-up from the AAA squad, getting to play some big league action, per se, over the weekend. So good experience for him as well.
For sure. And Dugan, 16-year-old, getting to come up, after playing 15 AAA last year to now midget AAA, and now as well this season getting the call up to the AJHL, just making that many steps in his game. That's really good to see from the Bobcats. Really bright future, like you said, Javen Leslie scoring his first AJ goal. So there's something to build on there and something to really get the momentum going there for the future.
Absolutely, and you've seen that with Javen Leslie, Ben Bygrove. They got a little bit of junior A experience in the past season when they were playing on the AAA team, and they probably needed that to get the confidence building and learn about sort of how fast the game is for when they did their off-season training heading into this season. So obviously a good opportunity for Dugan. And his AAA team, meanwhile, had a pretty good weekend of their own, though they were matched against some lower end of the competition.
Yeah, for sure. They took on the Sherwood Park Kings and the Airdrie Bisons. The Kings are sitting one spot below them in the standings. Meanwhile, the Bisons are bringing up the rear of the Southern Division. They tied the Kings there, so they still split the points there, still got 1 point, and then they stomped the Bisons 5-1, really running away with it. 5 unanswered goals there, with 4 of them coming in the second period. And it was a real team effort. They just kept building on each other's momentum line after line. And, this one's huge for them, especially heading into the Max International tournament coming up in January there, and trying to finish off this year on a high note. Couple teams that were trying to find their high notes were the Lloyd Comp basketball teams.
Indeed, you have the senior team playing in several tournaments heading into the Christmas break. We forget just how busy the high school season is. As soon as volleyball is done, they're right in the thick of it with exhibition play, some teams with league play. And the senior team, they're in a bit of a transition year in some senses, because their two of the best players they've had in the last 5-10 years, both gone from last year's team that felt like they had a shot at winning 5A provincials in Saskatchewan. They are missing those two guys, and they're not really expecting to be sort of top tier, but they've had some decent tournament results, 4 straight tournaments where they're top 4. And if they can, use that momentum and those kind of learning moments from those tournaments where they're playing top competition, not necessarily getting wins, that does bode well for when they go into regionals, and you need to be a top 2 team at regionals to go to provincials. So they need that experience heading into that tournament.
And Josh, this past weekend at John Paul II, they finished 4th place, like you said. What do you think they need to do to just get over that hump?
Slightly sharper on the defensive side of things, but it's also sort of finding offense where they can get it, because when you don't have a player who can get his or her own shot whenever you want, it requires a little bit more crisp passing from the team. Guys not forgetting to make their cuts, getting to spots specifically, and then knocking down open shots when you have. You need sort of an all-around participation from the rest of the group.
And then, Josh, finally, our last note here, a couple other of those Lloyd Comp teams in action, as well as a Holy Rosary Junior Varsity Girls team, which beat the Lloyd Comp team by 51. Thoughts on that?
That's a bit of a beatdown, 51 points certainly. You're going to see a lot of up and down results like that in the JV side of things, and certainly in the junior high league that's in town. Some of the teams will be a little overmatched compared to others. Junior boys as well, actually, at the comp have had a couple of good tournament results themselves, but still a learning process there. And we'll see a lot more of that in January, obviously, because now things are going to start to slow down and people will have their time off. Obviously, college students aren't gone already. I'll be interested to see how a team like the comp, resulting after a 51-point loss, how they kind of bounce back after the Christmas break.
I guess we'll see what this learning curve is like for the junior varsity teams.